Hey everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I am here today with Noah Segan, the writer, director, and star of the new film Blood Relatives. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm great. Love the background. Like I told you before, is this the car from the movie?
It is the car from the movie. I got high on my own supply.
Hell yeah. And was it your car before the movie, or did you buy it for the film and then kept it?
No, it's been my car for many years, and before that, it was sort of in the family. It belonged to a very prolific cinematographer named Tom Richmond, who shot everything from Chopping Mall to Keith Gordon's movies to Alex Cox's films, and he shot the Jeremy video for Pearl Jam and the Stay video for Lisa Loeb. Like this guy was the eyes of like the 80s and the 90s. And he was a friend of my family. And when I came out to Hollywood to try at work, he took me in and he gave me a job as a camera assistant, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a cameraman,
Oh, cool.
and rented me a room. The room he rented me in his old house in Venice used to be Alex Cox's room. And the third bedroom at a time was occupied by Michael Miner. And there was a period of time in like 1982 where like one guy was in one room writing RoboCop and the other guy was in the other room writing Repo Man. And it was, I mean, it was, and this house just had that vibe. And Tom was really generous and gracious, and he drove this old Barracuda everywhere. And when he retired a few years ago to New York to teach, he taught at NYU, recently passed away, unfortunately. He left the car with me and gave me the pink slip and said, take care of it. So
That is so cool. Oh, that is
yeah, so
amazing.
the movie's sort of about blood family, relatives, if you will. But this car sort of represents chosen family.
Yeah. Cool. I was gonna say, like, there's something about blood relatives that makes me think of chosen family, even though it is blood relatives. But let's talk about the film. So this is your first feature film. You're obviously an actor and you directed a segment of Scare Package. But what was it like directing your first feature film and writing your first feature film?
Oh, it was so easy.
Yeah, totally, like super
It
simple,
was just
right?
really easy. It was just the easiest thing anybody has ever done.
Hell yeah.
And it definitely did not leave me scarred for life. To quote the next thing
To
we'll
what
be
my
talking about.
podcast that you're in.
Yeah, the other one. Yes, the other thing. Uh, uh, you know, I'm very lucky that I've worked with a lot of um, directors who direct their own scripts.
Okay.
And I've always loved movies, many movies that are directed by the writer. And I think that when you're able to approach a team of people, actors, producers, your crew, and sort of unify around the story and around the script,
Yeah.
it often makes the sort of directing part of it um, a little clearer, because everybody can go back to the script. Everybody can say, well, here's whatever crazy idea I have, don't actually listen to that. Let's just listen to the script. Don't let me screw this up. I'll just go back to this scene right here, and we can make sure we stick to that.
Yeah. And so, what was there a moment kind of in your career that you realized you wanted to direct? Was there like a turning point ever, or did it kind of just organically happen?
I think I'd always wanted to direct, but I
Okay.
hadn't always felt like I was a writer.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't really until I married a very talented writer that I thought, okay, I sort of see how it's done. I see how much work goes into this. And of course, a lot of my best friends are writers and writer directors and
Yeah.
filmmakers. And I think I'd always sort of known that I would have to do that to get to the place that I wanted to make a movie. But it was really just finding, the confidence and the time um, and the diligence to sort of sit down and
Yeah.
and and feel like I was putting the thing on paper that I wanted to see on the screen.
Hell yeah. So, where did the idea for blood relatives come from for you?
Well, I became a dad, and
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and I sort of I used to stay up late driving around this old car and like, wearing cool jackets and smoking cigarettes and going to film festivals and then I was up in the middle of the night doing different stuff like changing diapers and warming bottles and I think that there was a certain duality there that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about sort of how I was feeling, what I was going through. And,
Yeah.
I've always worked on genre movies. I'm one of those nerds who thinks everything is a genre movie. I think
Oh,
like,
same.
you know, that's the sandbox. And so I knew I had to, if I was going to write a story, it was going to be a genre story. And I love monsters. I've never, I've never played in the vampire world. And those are some of my favorite movies. And I think it just made sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So what are some of your favorite vampire movies?
Well, I am a really pretentious guy. So, Ganja and Hess is probably my favorite vampire movie. One of the great soundtracks and scores of a modern movie.
Oh yeah.
Um, I love Martin, which is George Romero's vampire movie, Trouble Every Day.
Oh my God,
Um,
Trouble Over. So you think that's a vampire movie? You think Trouble Every Day is a vampire movie?
I do. I mean, I think it's a
Okay, cool.
vampire movie in the sense that, that like a really, really smart French person thinks it's a vampire movie. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you're smarter than me. Like you're like Claire Denis, you're better than I am. So, in the same way that like Near Dark, which is like, I mean, I've heard arguments against Near Dark being a vampire movie, but I
Oh,
mean, it
interesting.
is a vampire movie. I mean,
Yeah.
um, so that's another one. And then, of course, the great Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I just watched that for the first time for our podcast, for the podcast, and it is so funny.
It's so
I'm so
good.
sad it took me so long to see that movie. Wild. But so it's you obviously starring in this film, but also Victoria Morales, who is your daughter. And so how was it like finding her and then creating that relationship with her? Because you both have such a great chemistry together and the way you play off of one another. So what was that process like to find her?
I cannot take much, if any, credit for finding Vic, for Vic's incredible skill and talent and performance. I mean, I met Vic. I connected with her through Josh Rubin, who's our
Mm-hmm.
producer, who's also a great filmmaker in his own right, and plays a really funny role in this movie. And Josh had done one day's work on a movie Vic was in that she's starting called Plan B, which is a super funny movie. And when Josh and I started working together to make this movie, and we were talking about, how do we find this person?
Yeah.
And, specifically, I'd written it so that we never meet her mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought, well, families all look different. No family looks alike. And especially if you don't know the other side of the family, like we could hire anybody. Like let's just find the absolute best person that we could find. And Josh, the first person out of Josh's mouth was he said, "You're gonna think I'm crazy. I worked with this person for one day, but I think like you guys have the same sense of humor and you kind of have like same vibes, and like will you just see if she wants to read it?" And she read it. It was the middle of the pandemic and she had a few minutes free. She read the script and she got on the phone and Zoom with me, and we just you know, became kind of pen pals. We hadn't met until 2 days before the movie shot.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we really formed our friendship on that. And it was really her uh coming through with a not just an incredible talent, but like, this skill set that she's built over her entire life almost
Yeah.
that allowed her to sort of create the tone, not just for Jane, but the tone that I could step into. She really set it was like a what's the guy who does the
Oh,
the guy in the orchestra? Yeah,
the conductor. I just
the
saw
guy with the
Tar. I know what I'm talking about.
Tar. She's like a Tar type.
It's
I
like
think she's nicer than Tar. I think
I
she's
think so.
nicer than Tar. I've heard Tar not so nice. Not a nice person. Victoria Morales, really nice person. So anyway, but she really did kind of have that attitude and have the skill set to kind of take that upon herself, which is why she's, I mean, she's an associate producer on the film because,
Oh yeah.
there's no way to make a movie like this unless you are all doing five different jobs and unless everybody is kind of sharing a sort of sense of ownership
Yeah.
and she generously did that.
Amazing. And then last question before we have to wrap up. I love that you made I haven't really seen a Jewish vampire, a Yiddish vampire. So why did you want to kind of incorporate those elements into a vampire film into perspective that I feel like we haven't really seen at all in the vampire genre?
Well, you may be surprised to find out I am Jewish. Uh, Shocking, I know.
Shocked.
A Jewish person in the film business. Truly an unknown quantity. No, I'm a fifth generation New York Jew. I wasn't raised religiously, but it's a
Mhm.
cultural identity.
Yeah.
And I married an amazing person, but she is, as we say, a shiksa. She is not a Jew. She's a Gentile, and she's lovely, and she's very supportive of my culture and heritage. But it sort of felt like it was up to me to sort of share that with my kids. That was sort of
Okay.
something
Yeah.
that I felt like, okay, this is, I guess I got to do this. I guess this is who I am and this is who you are and you deserve to know about it. And I think that sort of extended into writing the script at a time when um otherness is something that we should be celebrating and we should be using to connect with, you know, anyone else who's felt like they are an other. And
Yeah.
so it sort of became my way to speak to other people who have felt similarly, who may not be Jewish, but they may have had similar feelings or they may have had similar experiences. And so I could sort of, maybe connect with them. And that was sort of the drive behind it. And then as far as sort of, I don't know, I'd also sort of felt like, there was a time when like James Caan and Elliot Gould were like cool like movie star guys and they like had swagger and they were also like that dude's Jewish and like or even like Albert Brooks, but it's like and I was like I want to kind of be one of those guys for a minute. Like I want to like be like I'm
Oh
like a
yeah.
dad now, like I can't be like one of those guys, but like what I mean, like I thought like oh maybe I'll
Yeah.
try to kind of be Mr. Cool Guy for a minute,
Hell yeah.
Jewish cool guy. Anyway,
That's amazing.
something
Um
those guys never said. They never like
they-
squirmed in their seat and were like, I'm a cool Jewish guy.
I'm a Jewish cool guy. You never know. Who knows what James Caan did behind closed
True.
doors?
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
Well, Noah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about Blood Relatives, one of the best feel-good horror movies of the year.
Well, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Wow. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you too.